What do you want, Nut?
Mommy told me to go to the bed and kiss.
He's a hug and a kiss. Okay.
Why? You don't like honey? I eat the honey in the water.
You do? No, you can't have no damn balloon.
Please? Jack it on.
With the biggest nuts, and guess what? He is Hello, everyone. This is Craig A. Palmer, America's #1 employment strategist and career coach. Tonight, we're going to discuss on tonight's podcast effective job search. Okay, so, and we're here every Tuesday at 9 p.m. And one of the reasons why I'm going to discuss effective job search tonight is because I've had a lot of clients recently seeking employment, and apparently very few people read anymore because I explain how to do effective job search in my book, and people don't seem to want to read. So I'm going to tell you how to do effective job search, right? And so that way you should not have a problem getting a job, right? So let me just do some of this stuff here. Okay. So how do we do effective job search? So hopefully I have Candace Nelson scheduled to come on this evening, and she's an HR professional, and she's gonna talk a little bit about job search and how to do it effectively as well, and some of the things that she looks for when she's assisting clients and things of that nature. So she's a stud. All right. So she's really a go-getter and knows a lot about effective job search. So she's going to help us along. Right. And let's see. So let us get started. Right. So effective job search. What's the first thing we should do with job search? Well, the first thing that you want to do when you're considering job search is understand that everything starts with a list, right? And most people, what they do when they try to do effective job search is they just kind of go to Career Builder, Monster, Indeed, and they look and see what's available. When in fact, when you're looking for a job and if you need something quickly, the first thing that you want to do is make a list of potential employers, people that you want to work for, right? That's the first thing that you want to do, right? The next thing that you want to do, right, is and once you've isolated a list of employees that you want to work for, then you also want to map out your script, right? Because there's something called a lot of people call it a 2-minute pitch. You can call it a variety of different things, but what you really want to do is have a script prepared to talk to employers, right? So if I was looking for, and I could tell you this works 100% because I've done it quite often. And in fact, the last 3 jobs that I've had have I've pursued them the same way. I've gotten them the same way. And that's basically making a list of employees that I want to work for, because you really want to make a list of employees because a happy employee is a productive employee. So if you're working someplace that you're not happy, you're not going to be effective. So for me, I always try to make a list of employers that I want to work for, and I go after it because I want to be happy when I go to work every day. So you want to make a list of employees, and like I said, you want to have your script. Now, in my book, The 10-Step Pocket Employment Guide, available on Barnes & Noble, I make a list of things that you can say to employers when you reach out to them. Now, in the past, we used to be able to reach out to people and pursue a job. But nowadays, employers what they're doing is they don't want you really calling. But in fact, it is the best way to get a job, right? It's one of the best ways to get a job. So what you want to do is you want to reach out to the employer. Now, there's going to be something called a gatekeeper, and this person one of their functions is to prevent you from talking to the decision maker. So you want to get past that person. And the way you do that is by asking for the supervisor or the manager. Now, the person is going to say to you, what's this in reference about? All you have to do is say to the person, are you the manager? And of course, they're going to say, no, I'm not the manager. Say, oh, okay, great. I was told to speak to the manager. And I can just tell you, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, oh, okay, hold on one moment. Because they're thinking in their mind, the gatekeeper's thinking in their mind, this person is serious, right? And so let me get the manager. So you want to get them, they're going to get the manager on the line. Now, this is where you have to have your 2 minute, your 2 minute pitch already in place. And you want to say something like this. Hi, I was told you were looking for an administrative assistant. I recently worked someplace for XYZ for about 3 years as administrative assistant. Some of my duties there were to do this, that, this. I type 75 words a minute. I know PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Office. Prior to that, I worked at so-and-so. You want to have your 2-minute pitch down, because any good manager knows you're only as good as the people that work for you. You want to have qualified, good candidates. So if you give them the pitch and you explain to them your skills, all right, and and you sell yourself effectively, then the first thing they're going to say to you, oh, okay, wow, send me your resume. Or they're going to ask you, have you already applied online? And you're going to tell them, no, I haven't applied online. And they're going to tell you, okay, go ahead and go online, apply online, email me your resume, let's set up an interview, a formal interview. All right, so now in my book, I talk about a lot of different scripts. I only gave you one just now, but I have about 10 different scripts that I use to create a conversation or interest in the employer in my book. So you want to definitely make certain that you have your script in place. All right. Now, the next thing you want to do is, when you're doing effective job search, because like I mentioned, you want to have a list, right? A list of employers. Now, I always suggest you have about at least 10 employers, and you want to do your research. Everything should be in place, right? And you really have to research everything, right? When you're doing job search, you want to have an idea what the salary pays for the position. How do we research salary for the position? Well, there's a great website. It's called onetonline.org, right? onetonline.org. And what you do is you type in your job title into that search engine. And what happens is it's going to give you a list of functions for that particular job. At the bottom of the page, it will allow you to find out what the average salary for that position in your state is, right? Because you realize that every state is different, right? So right. So you realize that every state is different. Hey, what's going on, Tiffany? You're not coming on tonight? Right. So it's really important, right, that you you have your list, right, and you research your companies effectively, because you really, like I said, you really want to be able to go in there informed and okay, hold on. Okay, so we have, hold on. Let's see what all right. Do you have video?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Tiffany?
Hi, Craig. Hi, everyone.
So are you on video? Do you have video or no?
I'm on video.
Ah, right. I don't see why I should be able to see you. Hold on. So let me just take a look real quick and see what's going on. Let's see. That's interesting. I'm trying to figure out why are you not showing up. So let's take a look and see. That's interesting. Hold on, let me see something. Oh, I don't want that. What do we do that for? Hold on. All right, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Let's see. Because you should be on. Let's see. Why are you not showing up?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, but your picture is not showing. That's very interesting. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. I need to research this a little bit more. So let's see. Only let's see. Share someone else. All right.
Can you see me?
Now I can see you. See?
Hi.
It wasn't me. Thank you.
It was me. You did something that caused the whole start the video section.
All right.
It's now there, so I can see it now.
Oh, see?
Hi everyone. I saw the start because when you took me off and put me back on, I saw the start video and I unlocked it.
Oh, okay, good.
So something that you did that caused that.
So introduce yourself. Tell everybody, who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany K. Evans. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm a career empowerment coach. And today I'm going to provide you some tips as well with Craig on how to do effective job search.
So I started talking a little bit about, making a list of employees potentially that you want to work for.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I found, and in fact, the last few jobs that I've had, what I did was make a list because you want to be able to go to work and be happy. And then what a lot of people end up doing is they end up taking a job that they're unhappy with just because the job was available. So,
Exactly.
Make a list of employees potentially that you want to work for and then pursue those jobs. Right?
I agree with that, Craig. Not only make the list of the companies that you always want to work for, but make sure it matches what your skill sets, what you can do. Like ask yourself, like take that, assessment test with yourself. Like, what can I do? What is my occupation? What are the companies that I want to work for that stands with what I stand for? Because you don't want to just be doing a job search all over, just applying to a million jobs that don't make any sense. I'd seen job seekers apply to a lot of jobs on Indeed and they had to block them. Like you reached the max. That means you're not doing your job search effectively. In order to do it effectively, you truly have to know who you are. You have to match yourself accordingly to the employers and the companies that you always wanted to work for. So if I know I always wanted to work for Rockefeller's Foundation or Ford or, Good Times or one of those main companies, I'm going to make sure that I look at the opening positions, match it up what I do effectively, and then tailor those keywords. And you got to also look at the job titles that correlates with your title and your occupation. If it doesn't add up or connect effectively with the employers, you're not going to be able to get that role that you want. So you got to be really strategic on how you do that.
Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, another way to do really effective job search, because as you know, a lot of times it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So one of the things that I tell folks is, go on LinkedIn. I know you're a big LinkedIn person, so what I'm telling you is not a stranger to you. You want to find folks on LinkedIn who work for the organization that
Yes.
you want to work for. Remember, we made a list of employees that we want to work for. So you reach out to folks who work for that organization. And in fact, it's funny because when I worked for the Osborne Association, before I actually started working for them, I had reached out to one of the guys that worked there in Brooklyn. Now, I don't know him. At the time, I didn't know him. And I was able to reach out to him and get some valuable information. I was able to use him as a reference, so it behooved me to really kind of reach out to him. And he gave me the name of some people to contact that I was able to reach out to and send my resume to and eventually get the job. So, that's another way you want to do effective job search. Make a list and reach out to people for that organization on LinkedIn and establish a relationship with them. And I would also say, try to find them on Facebook, because usually if a person has, an account on LinkedIn, they probably have one on Facebook too. So your LinkedIn is your more formal introduction, and then your Facebook is your more informal introduction. And so you really want to have both, because that way you get a chance to learn the person a little bit. And, obviously you can reach out to them on either setting and, just really kind of start up a conversation and probably get some valuable information that's going to allow you to transition into that organization.
I agree with that, Craig. That's one of the methods you'll incorporate to have an effective job search. On top of the research, on top of everything that people do, it's important that you do go on LinkedIn, like right after you apply, and just type that company name in the search button, find all those people that work there and start connecting and building those relationships immediately. Say, respond when they connect, say thank you, start that conversation up, show your interest in the company. And to the people, also use Craig's idea about go to their Facebook, get to see who they are as a person, and then start your conversation out with them. You have to build that relationship. So once you do that, that could be another way you could just use that way to say, hey, apply for the company for that opening position. And that's the way for them to send that resume over, or send your name to the hiring managers, and that will work for you.
Right, exactly. So, it's like I said, it's a powerful thing when you can, because nowadays, believe it or not, when you do applications online, or whether you do them online or whether you go into the store, there's usually a section on there that indicates, how did you find out about that job? There's nothing more powerful than being able to say you were referred by someone.
Yes.
Employers look at that. I know even at Macy's, Home Depot, places that I've worked for before, there's a section on there and they ask you, how did you find out about the position? And if you can say you were recommended by someone who works there,
Awesome.
it's a feather in your cap, and it usually it becomes a formality, but usually they'll put you on board very quickly.
I agree with that. And, having, when I was doing a workshop before, that question always pop up. Who would the employer hire? And give you the options of, would you hire someone based off the person that knows somebody, or someone that's just applied on the website, or someone applied through another site? Who are they going to go for? And everyone says they're going to go for the person that's already working there, that already referred the person. So majority of the time is about building that trust and getting to know someone in there. So therefore that work can go over and it could be a smooth transition for you. And that is the goal.
Right. So, and there's some other ways to do effective job search too. One of the things that you want to do is research the companies effectively. There's a couple of websites. One of them is called Hoover, I believe. Have you ever used Hoover before?
I haven't used Hoover too much when it comes down to the research method, besides researching the company on other platforms just to see, because certain companies, not to say this, but they're not really big on other social media platforms, or they haven't gotten there yet. They didn't have gone like really like digital, or like went to the social media platforms and started promoting themselves. So you also want to look at that too, because you start searching for a company and they're not there, and you're like, where's their Facebook page, or where's this page at?
Well, that's what I mean. I
Yeah,
don't use Facebook to research companies. I use Hoover.
yeah,
Hoover is a website where it usually has the annual prospectus from the organization. And what it does, and this is why it's so powerful, because most people are going to research a company the basic way. They're
wait,
going to kind of go online and find out whatever they can find on Wikipedia or maybe Facebook. But when you go to Hoover, it gives you a prospectus of how the company is doing financially. It tells you who the presidents are. It gives you a lot of information that you might not get online. So when you go on an interview, right, you can talk about how well the company is doing. You can talk about their quarterly earnings. You can talk about things that your average person in an interview can't discuss, because they're going to ask you,
yeah,
in some cases, they'll ask you, what do you know about our organization, right? And you can mention, I know that you guys did very well in the fourth quarter. I know one of your chief competitors is this person. I know that you recently introduced a new technology or something. You want to have a step up on other people applying for the position. And if you can come in with viable research, it tells the employer that you're serious. And that's what they want to know. They want to know you're a professional, and they want to know that you're serious.
I agree with that. Look at the financial reports, check the website of the organization. I also tell them to look at the press release that recently, like type in a company name and just look at the press release and see what's going on new and current. And for example, one of my candidates, she actually was having a, interview with a hospital. And I guess she just like, took it for granted that they won't have that information. And then when you look at it, they have a news article media of their press release that's going on, was being granted and given to them. So you want to make sure that, hey, have I checked the press release? Do I know what's going on with the company? Have I reviewed their website effectively to know what's the new news that's going on? Have they been granted something? Have they launched something new? Like, did they receive a new contract? The more information you know, the better it is. So therefore, when you're actually communicating with people, you know for a fact, like, hey, you just received a grant for a contract for XYZ and this, that, and that, and this is how I can add value. It will be able to help you.
Right. And I want to thank everybody watching on Facebook Live. I want to thank everybody listening on iTunes, iHeartRadio. I want to thank everyone listening to Success Essentials, a weekly podcast. All right. Tonight I just want to reiterate. Tonight we're talking a little bit about how to do effective job search. I have Tiffany Evans, who's an employment specialist and a career coach, on with us, and she's just giving us some valuable information about how to do effective job search. So let me ask you, what do you think is the biggest challenge people have in looking for a job?
I would say the biggest challenge with people looking for a job that everyone asks, what they all have said to me, is that besides they say, it's not that many jobs related to what they do, but most likely they tell me that, oh, the problem that I'm having with the job search is that employers is not contacting me back. And the reason for that is because you're not applying to the positions that you need to apply to for. So if you know your background, or this is what you are looking for, is this, like if you're applying for a administrative position, office position, and you're telling me you're applying to be a host or a waitress, like it's not really adding up. The guidance of truly applying to the positions that you want. And I think that was the biggest issue. A lot of people say they're not hearing back, but then they have to look, are you applying to the right positions that you're looking for? Effectively knowing where to go and where to apply for. And certain websites, is LinkedIn, I love to use. Indeed, love to use. I may check out Google here and there, certain, websites that I like, but some people would download everything, career builders, everything. Then their emails is being flooded with all these informations and, what's hiring that they're like, what's going on, what apply to, and they just start applying to everything because when they hear the word job search, most people in survival mode. I'm ready to grab something, whatever I can get at the
Right.
moment. Money talks. So it's like, hey, I'm going to do whatever it is to apply for that position because I want that position because I need to pay my bills. I got to pay this. But to do it effectively, you got to stop and reflect and say, I'm going to apply it to the positions that I know I'm an expert at. This is not about going all over the place. This is about making sure I know who I am. This is what I'm applying to. These are the companies I want to work for. And I'm going to meet up with the people that works inside there and the employees. And that's what I really encourage.
Right. I totally agree. And unfortunately, a lot of folks, they're not really certain to go where to look for a job. And I'm going to upload an ebook on my website, which is successessentialslearning.com, which is the ultimate, I call it the ultimate job search guide. And why it's so great is because what I've done is I've researched different sectors that are very specific to the positions that people are applying for. So instead of having to go, because what happens is a lot of times people, what they'll do is they'll go, like I mentioned, Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, things of that nature. What you want to do is be able to apply for jobs specifically for the sector you're applying for. So let's say you wanted to apply for an administrative position. You want to go to websites that are looking for administrative assistants. If you were looking for a job as a journalist, you don't want to go to Indeed. Everybody's looking on Indeed. You want to go to a specific website for journalists. Right?
I love that.
So, the job, I call it my ultimate job search guide. And, I've given it to a couple of folks to use, but I think I'm going to upload it as an ebook. And that way people, if you're looking for a job, I can tell you it's probably, one of the best things to use. When I worked as a job developer, I used it extensively for my clients. And I could just tell you, probably 95% of them were able to get employment relatively quickly.
And Craig, you have that in your book. Remember the time you have it broken down, like for veterans, this is the information applied for veterans.
And I've updated it.
You have that. Yeah, you update it. I know. That's awesome. I really recommend everyone to go get the book. Really check out the ebook as well that he has posted because this is important. So you don't have to be all over the place. If you know you want to work in a hospital, he has information, specifically hospital positions. If you want administrative, he have specifically the websites you can go for administrative. Any position that you look for, he has written it down and provided the correct website and updated it for you. So instead of all this Indeed, not everyone, hold on, Indeed is great. You just don't want to be doing way too much. You want to just apply to these websites that's going to provide you with the right information. I know on my Instagram and stuff, I post certain websites that just tailor to certain positions, whether it's the hospitality industry, whether it's the fashion industry, the hair industry, acting industry. Certain industries are tailored to certain people. In these industries, you can do whatever you want based off what you specialize in for that industry. And I love that Craig has that in his book. He's posted it. He has updated it. So I really recommend go get that.
No, I appreciate that. And because one of the reasons why I initially wrote the book, and as you know, was to really be able to have folks have everything kind of spelled out for them.
Yeah.
Because, one of the things, and I've had a million jobs. So, one of the things when I was growing up, I didn't know where to begin. Matter of fact, the first job I had, it's so funny. The first job I've ever had was working at Gristedes on 71st Street and Second Avenue, I think it was. No. D'Agostino's. Let me correct that. D'Agostino's on 71st Street and Second Avenue. I think it was Second or Third Avenue, D'Agostino's. And I got that through a friend. You know, my friend Chris, who someone told him about the job. We both went over there for an interview to see if they were hiring, and we both got hired for the job. So, I mean, a lot of people learn about jobs through word of mouth, but, you know, that's not always effective, because if you don't know someone who's hiring, then you're not going to be able to seek that employment. So you want someone to kind of tell you, where do I go? What do I say? Most folks can't even tell you what the first step in employment is. So, I mean, I spell it out for folks so that way you understand what the first step of employment is. And once you have the first step of employment, then everything else falls in place a lot easier. You know, it's just that simple.
I agree with that, Craig. I remember just being at the first workshop, and you mentioned that, and you asked some people what's the first step, and you looked at the calendar. You went over to the calendar, and like, he wrote down, I'm going to give you these amount of days, because it's about having that goal and plan, and also just making sure you putting a timeline as well. Like, okay, on this date, I should be already employed. And I would never forget it. And that motivated so many people and like drove them to say, I want to say. Right. So everyone was like moved and like pushing forward and really on their search. It was not a game anymore. This was serious, because they started to, they believe like, I'm going to be working before this date. This person just came in here and told me I'm going to be working. Like, all right, let's show him. And because you did that, it was just awesome. So I was just super excited about that.
I mean, you have to, because, there are folks that have been looking for jobs for years, months. No, the first step to employment is establishing a deadline. You have to have a deadline. And I'm not saying, you necessarily have to get a job in 30 days. But you should reasonably be able to get an employment in 3 months, right? There's no excuses. So once you establish a deadline, then you know how effectively you're using your time. So that's why it's so imperative to set a deadline. Set 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And once you've done that, then you can review your progress on a daily basis. What have you done this week to be able to make it, get employment in a month, right? What did you do week 1? There are people that do nothing week 1. No, if you don't get a job in 30 days, week 1, you should have made a list. You should have your interview clothes already. Like, you should already have a lot of that stuff done.
Everything. Yeah, I totally agree. And also, the first week is like your foundation as well too. And I really feel like if you got to create that really strong to having everything prepared and ready, because after the next week's follow up, it's just all about going on those interviews and having these informational interviews as well. Because Craig did say, go on, LinkedIn, go on Facebook, have these informational interviewing sessions with people, get to know them, who they are, get to know more about the company, what's really going on the inside, and just really just connecting. And once you're doing that, having these questions prepared, don't just go around just talking to chit chat. No, questions should be designed and tailored to the position you're going for in the company, because that just shows your interest in that person, and also just making sure that this is what I love to do, this is what I really want to get into, and getting to know back. What happens if you want to apply to a position, you find out that, the company is not really what you thought it all was. But that's why you just don't want to connect with one person. You want to connect with a few. And maybe one person experience, but the other 4 may be great. So it really may vary. So you have to make sure you're reaching out, you're networking, and to make sure you're doing this effectively. Now, don't go applying to 25 jobs. Apply strategically so you can manage your time wisely on speaking to these people at the certain companies that you really love, and therefore you get to make that decision once those interview. And you can also ask for the interview, and you have to be, hey, I would love to meet with you, XYZ. You don't have to say interview. You can say, I would love to meet with you. It would be great. Start those saying, oh, it would be great if I could stop by. Start easing your way in. So that would be awesome.
And I mean, it's funny because I'm not going to do it today, but usually, and I'll probably do it in a future episode. But
Yeah.
normally I would show my screen, and one of the things that I utilize, and I recently did this with a client, and I showed them Snagajob, right?
Yeah.
Now, Snagajob, a lot of people use Career Builder, Monster, Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sites that I love is Snagajob. And the reason why is because you go to Snagajob, you put in the job title that you're looking for. And once you put in the job title that you're looking for, it'll come up with available jobs in your industry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once you've come up with the available jobs in the industry, one of the things that it does, it isolates where it's located. So it doesn't give you necessarily a name of it. Well, it'll give you the name of the company, and it tells you their zip code. All you have to do is go to Google and type in the name of the company and the zip code. It'll tell you where the company is located. Usually it'll give you their phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you do is you reach out to the company and you call them and you say, hey, I was told recently that you guys were looking for XYZ. Now, everybody else that is applying for the job, they're going to the website to upload their resumes and wait to be called. In this instance, you're not waiting. You're creating the opportunity by calling the company, and you already know that they're hiring because they've already posted a job online. And they're going to ask you, how did you hear about it? You want to tell them, someone told me that you guys were looking for someone. Don't mention that you found it online. Everybody finds the job online. You want to say, someone told me you were looking for someone experienced, and therefore that's why I called. Because most of those folks are not going to be calling because they don't have the number, all right? Because remember, they went online and they did the application, but there was no number to call. That's how you were able to locate the number, by putting in the name of the company and the zip code. And then the home office, whatever the office they're applying, that's available, usually will come up in Google.
I agree with that, Craig, so much. When you are doing an effective job search, once again, it's really important after you have did the backup work and did that foundation, reach out to the company, speak to the office manager, speak to the hiring manager, the talent acquisition. You want to get to know those people who are hiring, and that's also important. That's what makes you stand out as well, because that shows your interest. Like the employer's like, oh, you're interested in, yes, when are you guys is this, is it still accurate? Is it still going on? When is the interviewing process? Oh, we're going to start interviewing people next week. They're going to remember your name and the fact that you called. So that call right there makes you stand out. And that makes you okay, we want to interview that person first. And that's always important. And I give you heads up on all the competition that you have going on. Reach out to the employers who are hiring for the position, because if you want to make sure you get that call, just showing your interest. And don't forget, once you do the interview, effective job search to make sure you're landing the position as well. You want to make sure you receive a business card, get an email, do not forget to remember the person name who you spoke to. A lot of people tell me, oh, I spoke to someone. Or who's that someone? Because now you finally talk to an employer who's going to pull your application, who's going to say, I want to meet you, and you don't even know their name. Write down their name, take down these notes. It's so important. And then make sure after that, you follow up after the interview once you get that opportunity. Be thankful, be grateful in your journey. And let's be realistic. What happens if you get that rejection on your job search as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to understand, you're going to get some no's along the way. And anyone doing effective job search has to understand there are going to be people that are going to tell you no, or you're not qualified enough, whatever the case is. But it only takes one yes. You're going to hear no's along the way, and like some of the things that you said, like write things down, right? Like I'm already preparing for 2020. Right. This is one of the first things that you have to get. You have to get your organizer. This is
Yeah,
already, I have
I have it
2019 and 2020 here. Why? Because
prepared.
as you're doing effective job search, these things you have to write down. You have to write down who you're looking for. You know, remember, what's one of the first things you do when you go online to do job search? You have to create a username and password. Where are you going to write that username or password? You're going to write it someplace where you can find it.
Yes,
That's why you have to have this. You know, that's why I told, you know, in your class, I told folks, one of the first things you have to do is write down things, right? And you don't write it in your cell phone, you write it in your organizer.
exactly.
Why? Because the organizer can't run out of battery power. It doesn't have to be recharged. All you have to do is open it up, and all the information you want is right there in front of you. So that's one of the reasons why we don't use cell phones. And even though cell phones are a great thing, we don't put our information in them. Because what happens with most people with a cell phone during the course of the day? I got to charge it. I got to plug it in. I got to find an outlet. No, we write it down in the old-fashioned
Exactly.
right?
I agree with that, Craig. I always encourage, I always try to add that in my give back events to just encourage job seekers and professionals. Do not forget the little things that still matters, because it does affect your job search, and always have a pen on you guys. I remember those days when my managers and stuff was tough on us when I was like 16 years old. You better have a pen. And he was not playing with us at all. And you would not get your check or anything if you didn't have a pen ready to sign or fill out an application or whatever it is for them. They want to see people who's taking this search serious and making sure you prepare. Now, we may forget the minor little things, but we got to hold ourselves accountable and responsible for everything. So you just want to make sure whatever bag that you create, do my portfolio, have my pen in it, do I have a little notepad so I can take down notes, do I have everything that is needed. And don't forget, if you are facing a no, do not ever get discouraged. That is not the goal. Not every time you're going to hear a yes, but you have to be thankful. You send a thank you letter still, no matter what. Just thankful for the interview and getting to meet those people. That keeps that still in mind, because you never know. An employer will reach back out to you. You know what? Yes, it may not be for that specific position, but it may be for a different position. So that's one thing that you also want to think about. Continue to always, even if you're going to know, I'm always thankful for the opportunity meeting you guys. It was a pleasure getting to know more about the company. I'm looking forward, keep my resume on file for any, opening positions, and just keep that going. And you keep going and you do not stop, because you will get that yes. So the goal is not about facing the no's, because you know you will get the yes. Embrace those no's. Know that, hey, it's not the time right now with me and you. It may come later. And you'll be shocked how things come back. So just be aware that you keep going and you will hear yes. You may hear the yes first. You have to know.
Exactly.
The goal is to do it effectively.
And you don't want to get discouraged. Yes, you're right.
Never.
And I mean, one of the things that I talk about in my book, my sales book, right, is that when you're selling, one of the first things that changed how I sell is understanding that you're going to get no's, and so it's all right to hear no. You should expect to hear no. But when you do hear no, you have to know how to turn that no into a yes.
Exactly.
Right? And most folks don't know how to turn a no into a yes. You have to understand something. Why is the person saying no to begin with? A lot of times the person is saying no because they have insufficient information. And so it's easy to say no because you have insufficient information. So what you want to do is, when the person says no, is give them enough information to say yes.
That's right.
You could say, I totally understand why you would say no to someone regarding that position. Of course, you want to get someone that brings this to the table. And of course, they're thinking to themselves, yes, I do want someone like that. And of course, you want someone that also can do this. They're thinking, yes, I do want someone like that. So then why are you saying no? I bring those things to the table, right? So you have to be able to turn those no's into yes. right? And there's a way of doing that. It's preparing for those no's, right? You know that you're going to hear no along the way. So you want to be prepared to turn those no's into yes. And I talk about, how to do that in my sales book, that, you can pick up on Barnes and Noble. Well, actually, you can pick it up on Amazon, and you can pick it up on my website, successessentialslearning.com.
I agree, Craig. That is perfect. Yes, it's important at doing an effective job search. Before you even face a no, to do your job search effectively and preparing and doing your research, like he mentioned in the beginning, we mentioned, is also to know the job description. What is this company trying to accomplish? If you know what they're trying to accomplish and you know what they're looking for, knowing what based off you did your research, you'll be able to say that during the interview to clear the whole solving the problem. See, these positions are open because we are here to solve a problem. It's here to connect with their mission so they can do a major, huge impact on their communities and society, and that's the goal. So you have to, effective doing job search, do your research and say, hey, I have what it takes to solve these problems. And you have to make sure you word in a way during these interviews to say, these are the skills, my soft skills, my hard skills, my technical skills, my knowledge. This is all what's going to, my value, this was going to bring to the table in order to solve these problems effectively, right? Now, that's one thing that companies all love. Can you accomplish these goals? Can you get the job done? And if you show them already and show the value already in the beginning, we don't have to worry about it. No, I just showed you everything. And do not forget to be passionate too about what you love to do. Because if you're just sticking, okay, people get caught up. Just show that you love to do and know how you can solve the problem. And that's doing effective job search.
Exactly. And I mean, another great way to do effective job search is do a lot of preparation in terms of mock interviews. When people do a lot of, they do job search a lot of times, they get called for the interview and they're unprepared for the interview because they didn't prepare in terms of doing mock interviews. So one of the things that we offer is job preparation. Part of that is doing some mock interviews because there are a lot of questions nowadays that people are going to ask in interviews that people are not prepared for. Those behavioral questions, those questions on how to handle certain situations, problem solving questions. These are questions that people have to be prepared for, and a lot of times they're not, because part of job search is preparing, for the interview. Because remember, we talked about creating the job opportunity by calling in employers. Employers, by doing this, they're going to call you a lot faster, and therefore you have to be ready. And the only way to be ready is by doing mock interviews.
You're right. Mock interviews is awesome. I truly agree with that. Most people do not do mocks. They're kind of shy. I feel like it's important to do a mock before the real interview. It gives you that practice that you need. It gives you that person who's guiding you and doing the mock interview to say, hey, this is the feedback. You need feedback and constructive criticism so you can perform well when you're on these interviews. And don't just do one mock or two mocks. You keep doing mock even if you have a job. You don't want to get comfortable. I tell people never become complacent. You get an interview, you keep on going, you keep doing the mock interviews to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. Because the more positions and the levels you want to go and the higher you want to go, you have to get yourself prepared. So that's the goal. Keep yourself prepared for more positions, more different levels, and taking yourself to the next step. And that is the goal. Mock is not something you should be nervous about. It's one thing to make sure you just continue to enhance your communication skill so people can understand you and may tell you certain things that you're not even acknowledging what you're doing during the interview. So you may start blinking a lot. You may show nervousness, and you don't want to do that during a real interview. So it's all about having a confidence. I love doing mock. I'm all about empowerment and building people's confidence and boosting up where it needs to be. It's to make sure when they walk in that interview that they are owning it, they have the confidence to perform and do the job and meet everyone.
Right. So, I mean, well, just for those folks watching on Facebook Live, go to a professional, go to folks that can help you get employment, go to professional resume writers. Go to folks. Don't try to do everything yourself. Go to seasoned professionals that know what the hell they're doing, right? Read things that are going to help you to be able to be happy, because there's nothing more important than happiness. And way too often people, end up taking jobs that they can't stand. I mean, it's nothing worse than, when I go in Walmart, half of the folks look like they'd rather be hanging themselves than to be at work, right? It's nothing worse than that. So, do something that makes you happy. And part of that is understanding career development, how to transition from a job to a career, understanding the differences between the two, right? How to do effective job search, right? So you can't force a person, to do effective job search. They're going to learn the hard way. And after, you stumble, 7 or 8 times, maybe eventually it hits them like, let me go to people that can assist me effectively.
Exactly. I so agree. It's important during your effective job search to find companies that make sure you're going to be happy, the environment, knowing what ticks you, knowing what works your nerves, because you don't want that to happen. You want to be happy. This affects your health as well. And you're not going to be able to perform well. In order to do the effective job search, make sure the positions relates in your career field, like we mentioned earlier, because that's also important.
I totally concur. So I want to thank everyone who joined us on Facebook Live.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. You can listen to the show on iTunes. It's usually available in a week or so. Last week's guest, we had Steve Burlack on from the Burlack Method, who gave us some great insight on personal growth and positivity and how you look at things and how you assess yourself. So you don't want to miss out on some of this powerful information. I want to thank my co-host Tiffany, as always. She's the master, right? I'm getting ready to get off here. I'm going to watch The Last Dragon. I know I'm dating myself, but Time Out is The Last Dragon, right? Show enough, right? So I want to thank everybody that joined us, and have a good one, T. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.